Welcome to Charting Crypto for April 13. My friends, what we see going on in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space is again trying to get some legs. We had the weekly vertical crossover occur on our New York Stock Exchange Bitcoin Index. That happened at the very beginning of April with that weekly vertical crossover. However, things, of course, were weak as that was occurring. We had some concerns as that was happening, as things showed us they were slowing down and dropping after a beautiful growing ascent right up until that point of the weekly vertical crossover. Then you can see how things accelerated up on the 2-day chart and then rolled over and accelerated right down. I held off. And again, I've told y'all what I have been doing, the way I've been involving myself in Bitcoin is through the Bitcoin futures ETFs. Now, the reason I use those instead of going to these various crypto exchanges and all is, and this is me, this isn't necessarily you. I mean, I am actually trading with real money, and of course, we don't encourage that. You are the one who makes up your own mind when and if you want to use your own money when you get good enough to be able to do that. We are not a stock calling, a Bitcoin cryptocurrency calling service. We're simply an education firm, but I do share with you guys what I'm up to. I have been using real funds to purchase and sell XBTF, just going up. I've not been trying to get into any options on anything like this. Of course, we've talked about it from the beginning. It is extremely new. You don't have to go very far back in time until November of this last year, so it's not even a year old. Now, there are efforts to actually have real ETFs that track the moving price of at least Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum. Some others are probably, of course, you can guess they're coming down the line, but they are not here yet. So I'm using this closed-in future contracts on XBTF. There's really three of them. There's BITO, BTF, and XBTF. And from what I've studied, this one has the lowest cost as far as management goes. So that's the one I've been using. And I've found Bitcoin to be trackable on the weekly chart. Now, I've shared with you guys the chart that I am using over here. You can't see too much of it there. I have the screen limited to my TC2000 screen, but about every other week I'm switching off back and forth. But I've been using TradingView, shared with you guys sort of the formula that I have set up for doing that, looking for the movement to be above the 200 period moving average line. That has been working pretty well for me. But when I saw the weekly vertical crossover occurring, we saw the limitations that were happening as that was occurring. Didn't feel real comfortable with the crazy swings that we see in Bitcoin, and that was for good reason. We have seen Bitcoin roll over. Now it is up for the day. If we look at Grayscale Bitcoin, we see that it has, again, we look at where the price percent oscillator is, still moving away from the red signal line. Derivative oscillator gaining some upward momentum. It's up for the day 6.61%, but you can see we do have a down week. And of course, we see even more down movement in our Bitcoin futures. Look, we don't have a price percent oscillator at the bottom or an exponential moving average on the 200 period moving average line. Why? Because it's not old enough to give us that. Now, we do see a 2-day line, both the price percent oscillator and a derivative oscillator. That's gone negative. And as we look at things on the close of the market on Wednesday, we have a 2-day recross, or I'm sorry, wrong, 2-day crossover going down. Now, that is a problem, of course. That automatically is a no-no for us doing any kind of up practice trade. Why is that? Because if your intermediate chart's moving the opposite direction of your big chart, we're not looking to enter into a trade. Those of you who are following the charts that I use on TradingView, you also see that there are a number of no-goes on those charts. So what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the crypto market to settle out. It had a lot of enthusiasm coming into that weekly vertical crossover. And of course, once it hit, it had a lot of fear jumping into Bitcoin, just sort of accelerating its down move, culminating in this two-day recross, daggone it, I keep wanting to say recross, two-day crossover going down. For those of you not really familiar with the terminology, a recross is when the two-day moves back in the direction of the weekly, potentially giving us a jumping in point for a move in whatever direction it's going in along with the weekly. So again, not as good many times as a weekly vertical crossover, but it can be quite nice. And in fact, in Bitcoin, it has been. So what is this potentially setting us up for? Well, that would be a two-day recross going up if indeed this turns around sometime in the near future before the weekly crosses over going down. Now we look at what's going on half-day wise on Bitcoin, and you can again just sort of see the deceleration of Bitcoin rotating over on the half-day chart back on the 31st of March, sliding sideways but moving down, then a good day and a half of down movement, sliding sideways, a good 2 days of down movement, and then popping up here over the last day on Wednesday. What do we see going on with Ethereum? Well, on these charts, about all we can look at is Grayscale Ethereum. But again, when we typically see weakness in Bitcoin, we see it in Ethereum too, and we see it reflected across the board in cryptocurrencies. You can see Ethereum weakening quite a bit this week. Two-day, not crossed over yet, but 6 days of strong down movement in Ethereum. And again, you look at this chart, extremely similar to what you see with Bitcoin. Why is that? Bitcoin is the big kahuna, and it sort of writes the song that everyone else sings in the crypto space. Now, what about BITW? That is the Bitwise 10 Crypto Index Fund. It's the top 10 cryptocurrencies balanced as per market share. And of course, you can see where things peaked and how they're losing energy, red down candle forming. Again, very similar to what you see with Bitcoin and Ethereum when it comes to the last 6 days of movement also. Now, when we look at the rest of the crypto space with these other ETFs that track things like blockchain and Bitcoin strategy ETF, we see the crypto industry innovators, we see the blockchain ETF, again, investing in those companies across the board, the digital transformation. What do you see? You see weakness over the last 2 weeks in these things. So nothing surprising us there. What does all this mean? Well, this means, my friends, that we are waiting. We will patiently watch, wait, and see as this potential 2-day, as long as there's not a crossover going down on the weekly, for this 2-day down move to play itself out, potentially give us a 2-day recross, and we've seen that occur in the past. And of course, now when we go back and look at what we've seen with those 2-day crossovers going down and then the recrosses, we can see that they have been decent when it's a true recross and the weekly's still moving in an up direction. And also the nice thing about those 2 days is they take us out of the down move. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, you need to practice trade this stuff. You need to pay attention. And what I'll work on doing for you next week is going back and again reiterating how I trade on that TradingView chart using the STC, using again the 200 EMA on all of my charts. And again, I use the same time frames every time I trade. The 195-minute, the half day. That's actually a half day in the real market from 9:30 to 4. The 2-day, which is 4 times bigger than the half day, and the weekly, which is 10 times bigger than the half day. And in fact, I'm going to share with you a formula that I use to show me just how strong those moves are. You're going to really, really like this. That'll be next week. God bless, my friends. Appreciate you. We always love to hear from you. CW@chartingwealth.com.